coming up this weekend. It is Fountain of Youth Day at Gulfstream Park. 13 races, and 8 of them are stakes events. And for another perspective on those races, we bring in daily racing form clocker Mike Vesce. And Mike, we'll get to the Fountain of Youth in just a moment here, but tell us how you got in the game, and what was it about clocking that perked your interest?
Hi, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on this evening. I was actually at University of Louisville in the equine industry program, about a mile away from Churchill Downs, and I just went out there one morning. I think it was a week before that first Breeders' Cup that they had out there, and I just wanted to go and see the workouts, and I was very interested in it, and I just kind of honed my skills there while I was at Churchill Downs.
You know, Mike, I've had a chance to sit next to you at Churchill Downs watching some of these 3-year-olds training up to the Derby, but I've seen you before recording information into your iPhone so you can go back and kind of catalog all these horses. So what would be your daily routine from the moment you get to the track in terms of bringing your notes together and making sure you can keep all these horses straight?
Yeah, on especially these busy days, Caleb, on, say, for instance, on a Saturday when you're dealing with about 120, maybe 150 horses, you can't obviously write down all the information as they're all going through. So what I'll do is record everything and then transcribe that later on after workout. So I'll transcribe that for maybe an hour or two, depending on how many works we have. And then I have to go and wait for the tab comes out and identify each horse by their markings and match them all up. And then after that, I put them into the system and with my analysis, and we do a little grading system as well. So I love my job, but I probably average about 70, 75 hours a week.
Well, Mike, this Saturday, 3-year-old's going to be the focus in the Grade 2 Fountain of Youth. It's going to be race number 12 at Gulfstream Park. Let's start with the division leader. The leader of the 3-year-old division right now is Mohaymen for Kieran McLaughlin. He's undefeated. He is 4 for 4. What kind of workhorse is he? What kind of workhorse is Mohaymen in the mornings at Palmettos?
Well, I'll tell you, Joaquin, before the Holy Bull, he was absolutely sensational. I loved his work, especially that last one on the 21st, right before the Holy Bull. It was amazing. And at that time, you know, these horses change every day, but at that time, I felt like he was at a better position than Frosted last year at the same point in time. And to be honest with you, his last 2 breezes really haven't, to me personally, haven't quite met up to his standards. You know, he had a fast work there on the 12th, but he looked okay, not quite as sharp, and then he didn't gallop out with as much energy as I would like to see. And then this last work here on the 19th, for him, I have to say it was an average work.
You know, Mike, we're looking back at the Holy Bull here, and I've got questions about winners of this race, because if I look at recent history, I'm looking at horses like Upstart, Cairo Prince, Algorithms, It's My Lucky Day, where they ran maybe their best race of the year in January. So I'm sure as a clocker, you're looking for these horses, how do they come out of the race? So with one of my theories being sometimes these horses can run too well in the Holy Bull early in the year, do you think that might apply to Mohaymen? Maybe he put too much out here to start this 3-year-old campaign?
I completely agree with you, Caleb. With those horses that you just mentioned, they kind of sort of peak maybe on Holy Bull Day. And to be honest with you, I don't know how good that Holy Bull really was. We talk about Greenpoint Crusader. I liked him as a 2-year-old. Honestly, I haven't seen much for him at all this winter, and he finished second in that race, obviously. So I don't know exactly how good that race was, and I agree completely with maybe these horses peak on Holy Bull Day, and that's not really where you want to run your best effort.
Well, the Fountain of Youth for 3-year-olds on the road to the Kentucky Derby, but 3-year-old fillies, Mike, also on the road to the Kentucky Oaks. The Grade 2 Devona Dale going to go as race number 5, and your favorite will be Catherine Sophia for John Service. She debuted at Parks, won by 12. She comes in a stakes race at Laurel after that and wins by 16. What were your first impressions when you saw Catherine Sophia at Palmettos?
Well, I think I wrote in my notes that she could be any kind, and I could, at this point, maybe make the argument that she's the best horse, period, at Palmettos currently. She's that good. They use that word freak quite often. I think she is just that. John Service decided only to work her once since that forward gal on February 20th. And in that work, she did absolutely nothing to disprove what I've thought. She went and about 25 and change to the top and just went easy and 48 to the wire. That's a big finish in 23 and change. And she was on her correct lead in the race. She got a big green lead on her wrong lead in that race and still destroyed the field. But she was on her correct lead the whole time in this work. So she's a filly with a ton of talent, and maybe she's just figuring it out mentally as well.
And another horse that you've had a chance to watch, I know you keep an eye on the Chad Brown contingency there quite a bit. How about Lewis Bay, a horse that we've seen already win going 1 mile and 1/8, the Grade 2 Demoiselle, and comes in here for the first start of the year in the Devona Dale?
She's been training really forwardly, Caleb, especially that she breezed a real nice half mile in her last work on February 20th. And then if you go back to the February 6th, I really like that move a lot. My problem with her is she's coming off a long layoff against, a filly that she's never seen before in Catherine Sophia, and she might be a little bit light on the speed figures as well.
Well, Mike, there's 13 races on Saturday. Any other horses maybe that you might be looking forward to on the program outside of the Devona Dale and outside of the Fountain of Youth?
Well, in the Fountain of Youth, I thought this Awesome Speed has been absolutely coming into this race the right way. And early on right now, I think I'm going to use him on top and surely be at least a bit of a price anyway with Mohaymen in the race. There is another Goldberg. I mean, Alan Goldberg, he from what I've seen, he does very well with his horses. He wins. His horses train well. They tend to run. And obviously, as a clocker, that's what I like to see. And I think it's the third race. It's a straight maiden. Horses dig deep. I loved him first time out. He ran very solidly, finishing second in his debut. And I think he's a horse to watch out for in the future as well.
Mike, thanks so much for joining us here on TVG. We appreciate the insight and best of luck. And enjoy the races on Saturday.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Daily Racing Form clocker Mike Vesce talking about the races this weekend at Gulfstream Park. One job I know I can never do. Clock horses.
We got some good stuff there.
Yeah.
I could sense that Mike wasn't buying all in on Mohaymen. And
picking against him.
And that was another thing I wanted to ask Catherine Sophia. Does she switch leads correctly in the mornings and kind of put that worry to rest if there was one for a horse that's undefeated?